So I've just recently purchased one of the He-Man Spydor toys off eBay, and just went to fix this one and thought maybe it might be useful to pop it online to show you some of the fixes that can be done on these. Fixed one before, and the switch had actually stopped working, so it was a replacement switch, so it's a little bit tricky, but nothing too major. But first, I'm just going to check the battery pack. This one looks pretty bad shape actually, so I'm going to start by cleaning them up. I have tried some batteries which didn't work, but yeah, that one looks okay. So what I'm going to start with is by just cleaning these up, see if that can get it working, and then if not, I'm going to pop them open and have a look inside and see what might be up. So I've tried the batteries, nothing's working, so I think the actual problem might be this one. If you look, very loose, so I think it might have come away or disconnected, so might need resoldering or a new piece of popped in there just to bring it back. So what we're gonna have to do is pop it up. You have to remove all these screws. It's got one there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, so just those ones around there. Have a quick look. Try, when you take it apart, it is really tricky to get apart normally without all the pieces falling out, especially all these, but they're pretty straightforward to put back in, but you've got to make sure you get them back in the right place. So I'm going to pop this apart and have a quick look inside. Yeah, so I'm going to do that now. Right, so as you can see, I've popped it apart now, and all the screws are the same size except for the one, you can see it, the one that goes in the front where the claws are to grab the figures. So that's the only one you've really got to remember, but keep them in a pot so you don't lose them. So I've got it open now, and looking at it, it looks like this could be the problem. So I'm going to try again to clean it up from the other side. See if I can find something to hold it in a bit better. Test the connections. But this here is what makes it work. So looking at it, motor seems to be running okay. All the wires connected, clipped in. Like I said before, the switch is quite often the problem, which in the past I've had to replace. I've actually got the old one here that I had to replace. As you can see, it's got a, I'm not an electrician, but there's a crossover piece at the back that wasn't working, so just replaced them, which was an easy fix. Bought a big pack of these off Amazon pretty cheap. I can pop on where I got them, but yeah, they're pretty easy to get hold of. Big pack here, just off eBay, so they're pretty easy to get hold of. I can put on if anybody wants to know the size. But yeah, I'm gonna have a little look, connect up a battery, clean this up, see if I can get a signal, and I'll just try that. Right, so I've taken this off, and I've tested the connections, and it turns out there is actually no power getting from here to here. So looking at this, which I've just taken off, it's in pretty bad shape. Batteries leaked and corroded it down. So rather than try and make one of these, I'm gonna have a quick go. I'm just gonna pop it in some vinegar for maybe overnight or a few hours. Just normal vinegar. This one I'm going to try. Not sure if you're meant to or not, but I've tried it in the past and it seems to have worked okay. As long as you clean it up after, get it all off, and then resolder it on, and then we'll see if that works. Right, so what I've got here, I've actually just going to pop the connection into an old egg cup. Just fill it with just enough to fill it, just to cover it. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot, and this stuff lasts for ages. So I'm going to leave that now to do its thing, and hopefully clean it off so that we can get a better connection, and that's the only problem. Right, so as you can see, this has actually only been in here for probably about an hour. As you can see, a lot of it has already come off. If you take it out and just give it a rub, just with a cotton wool bud or something like that, but if there's any stubborn bits that won't come off that are like hard or stuck on, give it a little scratch with a screwdriver, pop it back in. I've just done that actually, and you'll see you're actually come off a lot easier, or even if you've got to leave it to soak for just a tiny bit longer, give it another clean, and it seems to come up pretty well. Saves you making another one, so yeah, so it actually works quite well. So I've just finished soldering the new connection on to the green wire here. Looks good, looks okay. Can't see any other loose connection. They seem to be okay, so fingers crossed this should go forward. Yep, there we go, see one side moving. And then hopefully back. No. Oh. There we go. So seems like there might be another loose connection, or maybe the switch needs replacing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop something in here just to lubricate it a little bit. Put it back together and see if it runs. If there's any problems, I might just replace the switch. I don't really want to take it apart, because all these cogs and things are it is doable, but you really want to be taking photos before you take it apart. Double check where they all go. I don't know if you can see, but in here you have pieces that go straight through, all the way through to the front and back, and the mechanism on the front here and on the back here, they need to line up with the bit that goes through with the rubber ring. And I think there's 3 of them. There's one here, and one here, and they want to go through the actual mechanism, through the rubber, through the mechanism, and the front and back of the case actually join. You want to make sure they're all in there. So the last one I took apart, they had fallen out, so someone had tried to fix it and not replace them back in. Obviously you want to check the motor. All the cogs are back in place. You might be able to see it better from the other side actually. There you go. Might be able to see the smaller one down below. Same thing with these. You want to make sure that the back case. It goes through the thing, through the cog and back in, and there's a metal rod that goes through each one of these, and the front and back of the case should line up with it all. If you can't get it back together, it's probably because it's somewhere down inside. One of the bits that meant to line up aren't quite lined up. So I found with the last one, if you want a really thin screwdriver, to just push it through and just gently tap it, just to make it line back up to get them to join back through. But yeah, apart from that, when you put it back together, if you can see this, when you put it back together, you want to make sure that the battery packs, the battery cases, these, put them on before you put this back in, because you can't put it back in after. So it's quite tricky lining it all up. So you want to make sure that you put them in first. These, if you can see, this should just sit inside. You also want to make sure that none of the wires that you've put in a catch in. And I'll just pop this out a minute to show you. These little clips in here, these ones, they're not for the wires to hook in. Make sure the wires aren't in those. You don't want them in those. They want to go above, because they actually hook onto the frame below to hold it in place. So make sure they're out of the way. Make sure the wire on the top here isn't too far forward, because when you put it back together, I don't know if you can see there, but there's a gap where the figures go through, so you don't want them catching on the wire and disconnecting that. So apart from that, once you've got it all back in, once you've got it all back in, you should just clip back in. It's a little bit tricky because of the batteries, but yeah, you should just slot it back in. I'll put another one on to show you how to put the legs back in. But yeah, fingers crossed it should work when we put it back together. Right, so I've got the bottom bit in, batteries clipped in, all the wires are missing. With the back, I like to loop the little wire around there and miss this, because the leg's going to be rotating. You don't want it to catch on that. Also, with the legs, you want to really, it's not actually that difficult. You just want to make sure that you line it up, put it in the hole, these in there. You want to make sure, sort of like that. The front and back ones are actually the same, so if they're not fitting, you just got them upside down. Middle one is the straight one, just straight in there. It just sits like that, so it can rotate. If I pop it on, I'll show you. Just like that. So yeah, I think they're all the same. So just got to put all those back in, and then get the top back on, which is probably actually the trickiest part, is getting the top back on, because you've got to line them all up, all the holes, and make sure you get it all lined up before you clip it in. But yeah, just make sure when you put it on that the legs are all in the slots, so you don't have to take it back in a bit. Also, sometimes the spring's broken here. Quite an easy fix. Just a new spring in there, that's all it is on that. And yeah, so fingers crossed when I get it all together, it still works. Sorry, just another quick tip. When you're putting the top back on, don't push the top down. You want to lift the whole thing up and hold the red thing, the red mechanism inside, because the case, the bottom bit, will actually slide down as you're trying to push this on. So you want to make sure this bit doesn't move, and push the bottom piece up onto the bigger piece. Probably best starting from the back to line up the holes. Also make sure no wires are stuck in anywhere. I've got all the legs in, so double check. So I've got a loose connection here again. So one of the wires has come out. So I'm going to have to double check that again. Right, so I'm ready to test the Spydor. The loose connection, why it wouldn't start before, was the little bracket for the battery had come loose again. So I've just put a bit of tin foil in behind it just to hold it in place. So hopefully this should switch on. Right, so it all seems to be working pretty well. Another little tip that I found with the last one is that even though the legs I think are all the same, if someone could clear up if that is true or not, I'm not really sure, but I was finding that the legs as it went around were catching on the bottom, and I just switched them. It seemed to work pretty well. Maybe it just been stored and slightly bent, but you can swap them around pretty easily, and that really helped. So that's it really. I hope this has been helpful to someone. Like I said, I only put it on here because I fixed one before, and it was the switch. And I just thought there wasn't any on there online that I can see on how to fix it. So hopefully this helps. So yeah, thanks.